and welcome to our class today. I have our affirmation cards, mantra cards, and they are: I am magic, and I am fertile. So go ahead, get your mat or towel or just open space on the floor set up. Make sure you've got plenty of room to move around. And, it doesn't matter if you have a traditional mat or a towel or whatever, just make sure you've got enough space that you can move comfortably. As always, please do not begin this or any exercise program without first consulting your physician. If you have any lingering injuries or ailments, please do the best you can to take care of yourself. Make adjustments to any postures that don't feel good for you. This class is about you, it is for you, and you know your body best. So just if we're doing something that doesn't feel good, make adjustments for yourself. And I'll try and give modifications if we go into particular postures. Yeah. So welcome, my name is Elena. This is our live yoga class. We will begin by just finding a comfortable seated position. Try and draw the shoulders back and down, just kind of opening up the chest, opposite of where we spend so much of our time. If it's comfortable for you, if you feel safe, just bringing the eyes closed and maybe beginning to narrow the breath in and out through the nose. Taking this first moment of our class together to just really ground and center ourselves. Becoming very aware of our breathing. Maybe just checking in with our bodies, taking a scan from head to toe, noticing any areas that might need a little extra love today. Just taking note and releasing any judgments that come up. Just becoming aware of how our bodies feel in this moment. Having compassion toward our body, toward ourselves. If our mind is busy and wandering, just gently inviting it to come back to the breath. And taking just the next couple of inhales to bring the eyes open once again. From here, we'll walk our hands out in front of us, just really reaching the fingertips forward, pushing back through the sit bones, trying to relax the upper body. So releasing the shoulders, releasing the neck, releasing the jaw. Trying here to kind of lengthen the spine. We're just working out any stiffness, any lingering tightness left from our day so far, or from maybe the weekend. And walking our hands over to the right. And maybe just noticing our breath here as we're hinged forward and stretching over to one side. Can you tell a difference in the way the ribs expand? And moving all the way across the body now over to the opposite side. Same thing, just stretching the fingertips forward, pressing back through the sit bones, relaxing the neck, the shoulders, and the jaw. Try to keep a little gap between the teeth, even while keeping the mouth closed. This just will help to kind of unlock some of the tension that tends to build up in our jaws. And back to center. And then walking the hands back in, lifting the heart. Again, we'll invite the shoulders back and down, just opening up the chest. From here, we'll switch our legs, taking the opposite leg to the front. And walking our hands out in front of us once again. Really reaching those fingertips forward, pushing back through the sit bones, relaxing the upper body down. And taking our hands now over to the right. Checking in again with the neck, the shoulders, the jaw. Try to allow the body to kind of be relaxed while still stretching here. And walking all the way across the body over to that opposite side. And bringing ourselves back to the center. Maybe stretching the fingertips just a tiny bit further forward while still pressing back through the sit bones, just creating that push and pull sensation. Bringing the hands back in, lifting the heart, drawing shoulders back and down. So again, we're just opening up the chest. From here, we'll come into our Kundalini circles, just bringing hands to the knees. Inhaling as we pull the heart forward, shifting to the side. Exhaling as the heart drops back over to the other side, and inhaling again as the heart comes forward. So continuing here, just at your own tempo, following the pattern of your breath. We're trying here to get a nice big range of motion with the spine, really waking up the body. They say that the spine is the key to a youthful body and mind. So if we try to move our spine in healthy ways every day, that should help the rest of our body to feel better. As we come around to the front, just pausing and switching directions, continuing in that same pattern, inhaling as the heart comes forward, exhaling as the heart drops back. And again, just continuing to move through a full range of motion for ourselves today, whatever that looks and feels like for you. Always operating within our pain-free ranges of motion. As we come back around to the front, just pausing there, shifting ourselves back to a neutral spine. From here, we'll take some circles with our neck, beginning by dipping the chin down toward the sternum and sweeping across to either collarbone, just circling around, moving slowly and gently, always with the neck. And again, just operating within our pain-free ranges of motion. So if you feel any pinching or anything like that, try to make the circles just a bit smaller. And if possible, keeping a small gap between the teeth while still keeping the lips closed. And now as we drop back down to the sternum, pausing there and switching directions. Again, just moving slowly, gently stretching. As we come back down to the sternum, pausing there, taking just a couple of breaths, allowing our head to stop spinning, bringing ourselves centered once again, and gently lifting our heads back upright. From here, we'll bring ourselves forward onto hands and knees so we can roll straight through, or you can come around to the side. Either way, bringing our wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, just coming into a tabletop position here. And from here, we'll take a thoracic spine twist, starting by sweeping our right arm up and open, reaching the fingertips up toward the sky. And then threading the needle, gliding our arm underneath the body, palm facing up, lowering our torso down toward the earth. Try to make an effort here to keep our hips as square as possible. And if you'd like to, you can take that left arm, opening it up, reaching fingertips up toward the sky, staying there, or wrapping our arm back around the body, hooking onto either hip or thigh, coming into a nice little half bind, dropping the shoulder back and down, rotating the heart open. Replacing that left hand, if we've brought it up, pressing ourselves back up, around toward the center, realigning as needed, and then taking our left arm, sweeping it up and open, fingertips reaching up toward the sky, and threading the needle, gliding the arm underneath the body, palm facing up, lowering our torso down toward the earth. Again, you can choose either keeping that right hand planted, or if you'd like, opening it up, reaching toward the sky. Maybe coming into the half bind, so it's wrapping the arm back around the body, hooking onto either hip or thigh, rolling the shoulder back and down, opening up the chest. Replacing that right hand if you've brought it up, and pressing ourselves back up and around toward the center. Stacking wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. From here, we'll flip the toes under and prepare to lift into our first downward facing. So it's pressing our tail up and back. Feel free here to keep the knees bent, especially as we're warming into this posture. And then just gently shaking the head no, nodding the head yes. And beginning to pedal out the heels, alternating our legs, taking a deep bend in one, and then in the other, driving that opposite heel down toward the earth. And I always like to stretch out the tops of my feet while I'm here too. Maybe even take a couple of ankle circles. We're just trying to warm up our lower body, get the legs loosey-goosey. And pressing back into our downward facing again. Feel free to keep the knees bent here. Then we'll saunter our way up to the top of the mat. So just reaching one leg up behind us, taking a little step, and then the other, just gradually walking our way all the way up to the top of our mat. Once we get there, softening our legs and rising up into mountain. From here in mountain on the tops of our mats, we will come into our sun salutations. Inhaling, sweeping the arms overhead, gently lifting, and exhaling, swan diving forward, coming into a forward fold. We're just inviting our heart down toward our knees and flat back, lengthening the spine, crown of the head gently pulling forward. Plank, soften those legs, step or hop on back. And chaturanga, cobra, or up dog. Downward facing, pressing our tail up and back, really lengthening the spine. From here, bringing our right leg up behind us, bending the knee, twisting open to the side, opening up those hips. Crescent lunge, back around to the center, stepping through and rising on up. Biceps drawing near ears. Flat back, replacing our hands, stepping through, lengthening the spine, crown of the head presses forward. And forward fold, melting on down. Rising up into mountain, softening our legs, scrolling all the way up, head coming up very last. Sitting back into chair. Returning to mountain. Inhaling, gently lifting. And exhaling, forward fold. Flat back, lengthening the spine. Plank, soften those legs, step or hop on back. And chaturanga, cobra, or up dog. Downward facing. Lengthening the spine. Again, feel free to keep the knees bent or softened here. And bringing our left leg up behind us, bending the knee, twisting to the side, opening up those hips. And crescent lunge back to the center, stepping through and rising on up. Biceps drawing near ears. Flat back, replacing our hands, stepping through, lengthening the spine. Forward fold, melting the heart down toward our knees. And as you can see, I just like to kind of hug the legs, maybe rub the backs of the legs. Just helps to get them a little bit looser. And root to rise, planting our feet, softening the legs, scrolling up, building our mountain from the base up. And sitting back into chair. Returning to mountain. Inhaling, gently lifting. Exhaling, forward fold, melting on down. Feel free to hug those legs. Flat back and lengthening the spine. And plank, soften those legs, step or hop on back. Chaturanga, heart inches forward, elbows towards rib cage, cobra or up dog. And downward facing. Pressing our tail up and back, really lengthening the spine. From here, bringing our right leg up behind us this time. We'll point our toe, extending the leg. Nice and long, just imagining ourselves in the splits here. And crescent lunge, softening the knee, stepping through, rising on up, drawing biceps near ears. Flat back, replacing our hands, stepping through, lengthening the spine. Hands can rest on the thighs or the shins. And forward fold, melting down. Just drawing our heart in toward our knees. And rising into mountain, softening the legs, scrolling on up. Head coming up very last. Sitting back to chair. And returning to mountain. Inhaling, gently lifting. Exhaling, forward fold. Melting down. Flat back, lengthening our spine. Plank, soften the legs, step or hop on back. And chaturanga, heart edges forward, elbows towards rib cage. Cobra or up dog. Lifting our heart. And downward facing, flipping the toes, pressing up and back, lengthening our spine. And bringing our left leg up behind us. Once again, we'll point the toes, extending that leg long, long, long. Crescent lunge, softening the knee, stepping through and rising on up, biceps drawing near ears. Flat back, replacing our hands, stepping through, lengthening the spine, crown of the head, pulling gently forward. And forward fold, melting down. Feel free to kind of soften the knees here too as we come forward. You don't have to be totally locked out all the time. And root to rise, planting those feet, softening the knees. Scrolling up, building our mountain from the base up. And sitting back to chair. Returning to mountain. Inhaling, gently lifting. Exhaling, forward fold. Flat back, lengthening the spine. Crown of the head gently pulling forward. Plank, soften those legs, step or hop on back. And chaturanga. We'll bring our heart all the way down to the mat this time. From here, coming into lotus, sweeping our hands back, peeling up the heart, lifting the toes. We want to feel this mostly in our tushy. So if you're having pinching or stacking in the lower back, try to maybe lower the toes a tiny bit, squeeze the bum a little bit tighter. Want to make the bigger muscles of our rear end do the work versus the smaller muscles of our lower back. Coming into child's pose. From here, replacing our hands, softening the knees, and lengthening ourselves back.
Stretching the fingertips forward, pushing back through the sit bones just like we did in our warm-up today. If you'd like to, you can take the knees about as wide as the mat, or you can keep them in closer together. Either way is just fine. From here, bringing our hands just up onto the fingertips. This just helps kind of open up the heart a little bit more, stretch the shoulders a little more deeply. Flattening the hands back down. Coming into tabletop position, rising up through the middle back, bringing ourselves to a neutral spine. And then rising up to downward facing, flipping our toes under and pressing our tail up and back. Feel free to keep the knees bent as we raise up, and you can keep them here every time we're in downward facing, or you can gradually soften the legs, just whatever feels the very best for you today is where you want to be. From here, stepping our right leg up through, coming up to the top of our mat, just into a crescent lunge. From here, we'll open to face the side of our mat. So our toes will be angled just slightly towards the corners of the mat, and then sitting down into a deep squat position. Bringing hands into cactus in goddess pose. Nice and strong here. Invite the shoulders back and down. We're kind of pressing outward with our feet, so we're driving our energy just out towards the corners of the mat with our legs. That's going to help engage everything. From here, we'll come into our sun and moon flower. So inhaling, sweeping the arms overhead, lengthening the legs. Exhaling, tucking elbows into rib cage, bending the knees. Inhaling, sweeping arms up overhead. Exhaling, this time hinging down, sweeping the ground, back up overhead, and then to the rib cage, overhead, back to the ground. So we'll do just a few more of these here. Feel free to move at your own pace. If you want to maybe elevate your heart rate a little bit more, you can go faster. If you'd like to work a little bit more on muscle control, you can go a little bit slower. Couple more breaths here. And then shifting into a crescent lunge, so sweeping the arms up overhead and then turning so that our right foot is forward. So we should be facing now the front of our mat. Biceps drawn near ears. From here, coming into a pyramid pose, sweeping our hands down toward the ground, stepping our back leg about half the distance forward, lengthening both legs, lengthening the spine, lifting up and in through the belly. If you'd like, you can stay here, or perhaps drawing our heart down toward our knees, continuing to lift up and in through the belly. And coming into 3-point pose, inching the fingertips forward, softening both our legs and rising up onto that front foot, extending our back leg behind us, flexing or pointing the toes. Then you can choose either staying here or opening up into half moon, rotating our hips towards the left, eventually bringing that left hand up off our mat onto maybe the hip, maybe extending overhead. It's up to you, keeping that back leg active. So we're either flexing or pointing the toes. And back around we go, 3-point pose. Crescent lunge, softening the knees, planting our back foot, sweeping biceps up, mirror ears, opening to the side into goddess. Couple of breaths here. Coming into sun and moonflowers, inhaling, sweeping arms overhead. Exhaling, tucking elbows to the ribs, inhaling up overhead. Exhaling, sweeping the floor. We'll do one more set, inhaling. Coming into a crescent lunge, sweeping our arms overhead, this time facing the back of our mat. So our left foot is now in front, biceps drawing your ears. Pyramid pose, sweeping our hands down, stepping that back leg about half the distance forward, lengthening the legs, lengthening the spine, belly tucking up and in, and gently inviting our belly button down toward that front knee, keeping the belly tucked up and in. This helps to activate our pelvic floor, also keeps our spine more neutral, gives us a bit of a deeper stretch through that front leg. And 3-point pose, inching those hands forward, softening both knees, and you're rising up, flexing or pointing the toes of the back foot, keeping our leg flexed and active so it's not just hanging there, dead weight. And half moon, rotating our hips toward the right, eventually bringing that right hand up off the mat onto the hip, maybe extending overhead. And if you fall out, feel free to just pop back up when you're ready. And back around, 3-point pose, hips and chest coming square to the mat. And crescent lunge, softening the knees, planting the back foot, sweeping those arms up, biceps drawing your ears. Opening to goddess. Toes are pointed toward the corners of the mat. Arms are in cactus. And sun and moonflowers, inhaling, sweeping overhead, exhaling, elbows towards ribcage, inhaling, and then to the ground, back up overhead, and toward the ground. We'll come into a crescent lunge with the right foot forward. Pyramid pose, sweeping the hands down, stepping our back leg about half the distance, lengthening the spine, heart drawing down toward that front knee. 3-point pose, lifting up. And half moon, rolling hips and chest open to the side, keeping that back leg active. So flexing or pointing the toes. then back around 3-point crescent lunge, planting that back foot, rising up, and goddess, opening, sun and moonflowers. Crescent lunge facing the left this time. So we should be facing now the back of our mat. Pyramid pose, sweeping the hands down, stepping that leg about half the distance forward, lengthening, and inviting the heart down. Three-point pose, fingertips come forward, softening the legs, rising up. And half moon rotating, open toward our right. Bring that right hand up off the mat. Maybe extending the arm overhead, keeping that back foot flexed or pointed so the leg stays nice and strong. And back around, three-point pose. Crescent lunge, planting that back foot, rising up. Biceps drawing your ears. And opening to goddess. From here, we'll come into a forward fold. So just bringing ourselves down, turning the toes. So now they're facing the front of our mat instead of the corners. And just relaxing the torso down. And coming around, excuse me, coming around to the front of our mat. So we'll just walk ourselves all the way around, stepping our back leg up to the top, and then taking a forward fold here. I have a pretty wide stance, and you can too, you don't have to. And dropping down into garland, heel toeing the feet out, about as wide as the mat, toes probably turned just slightly out, and sitting down, nice deep squat, palms pressing together, elbows towards the inside of the leg. Feel free to just kind of glide side to side, front to back. Just a nice way to kind of loosen up the hips and ankles. And bringing ourselves down to the ground. So you can just drop and roll there, or feel free to bring the hands down to whatever degree you would like that extra support from them. And we'll come into a staff position. So extending our legs out in front of us, lifting the heart nice and tall, inviting shoulders back and down, just taking a gentle flex in the feet. And we'll come into a forward fold. So just hinging forward with the heart. Telling your toes hello, that you love them. Thank you for all of the work that you do. Without your toes, you wouldn't be able to balance or do a lot of things probably. And lifting ourselves back up. From here, we'll come into a figure four. So just taking our right ankle, crossing it above the left knee. We can stay here if you'd like. Plant that base foot, driving the knee just slightly down. So we're working to open up the hip of that right side, or you can come into cradle the baby, bring foot and knee into crooks of the elbows. So just whatever feels best for your body today is where you should go. And if your body feels better in a place that's different from where it felt better yesterday, that's just fine. Our bodies are very dynamic and changing from day to day. And then we'll release that leg and come onto the opposite side, taking the left ankle, crossing it just above the right knee. We can stay here. We can bend the base leg, driving that knee just slightly down, or come into cradle the baby, bring the foot and knee into the crooks of the elbows. And again, just whatever feels best for you today is where you should be. And if the different sides of your bodies feel different, maybe one side feels like it's a little bit more loosey-goosey this morning, that's just fine also. We just want to try to meet our bodies where they are right now and love them and accept them for where they are right now, because just like us, they're doing their best, right? Releasing that leg. And we're prepared to bring ourselves onto our backs. So planting both of our feet, scooting forward or backward on the mat as needed. And we'll take some rock and rolls. So just scrolling back and then rising up 5 times. Feel free to move here at your own tempo. It's just a nice free back massage. And I think this one is 5. So after that 5th one, it's coming back onto the ground. From here, we'll come into what's called a bretzel. So I'm going to start on the left-hand side just so you can see me a little bit easier for this one. So you come to your left side too, I guess. So coming into the fetal position, stacking our knees. From here, we're going to take our top leg and just grasp it with that bottom arm, and then take the bottom leg and grasp it with the top arm. So we're kind of tied up in a little pretzel knot. From here, we're just going to roll that right shoulder open. So our top shoulder, we're rolling it open, drawing it toward the ground. So we're getting a little bit of a hip flexor stretch from the bottom leg. We're opening our heart, which gives us a spinal rotation. And then just kind of letting the body melt here. Deepening the breath.
cooling down. Using each exhale as kind of a release. Just letting ourselves melt a little deeper in each exhale. And gently releasing, just letting go of that foot and bringing ourselves into fetal position once again. This way our spine comes into a neutral position. And then shifting gently over onto our backs and to the opposite side. Once again, coming into fetal position. So stacking our knees and then taking our bottom hand and grasping that top thigh, taking the bottom leg back behind us and grasping the foot with our top arm. From here, we'll roll that left shoulder open. Again, while we're here, working to soften our breath. Working just into a deeper stretch. Maybe lengthening the exhale so it's longer than the inhale. Using that exhale to just release any tension that's still in our bodies. Releasing that bottom leg gently, gently, shifting ourselves back over to that fetal position. So we bring our spine to a neutral spot before we move. And from here, just gently shifting over onto our backs and preparing for our Shavasana or final relaxation. Extending one leg
And then the other, allowing our toes to fall comfortably open. Bringing our arms to rest at the sides of our body, palms facing up. Perhaps closing the eyes. If possible, narrowing the breath in and out through the nose. Allowing our mind and body to become still and calm. Bringing our attention to our breathing, or perhaps to our mantras for the day. I'll watch the time and just bring us together in the end. Beginning to deepen our breath. Becoming aware again of fingers and toes, wrists and ankles. Maybe even stretching arms overhead. Bending one leg and then the other. And gently shifting over to the left-hand side, coming into a fetal position here. And gently pressing ourselves back upright, coming into a comfortable seated position. We'll take just a couple of breaths here. Bringing one hand to our heart and one hand to our belly. May these practices heal and strengthen my body and my mind. May these practices heal and strengthen my body and my mind. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful day.